Ah yes, the Roaring Twenties. A place where smoking was a hobby, jazz was on the rise, women's suffrage was taken more seriously, and a whole dawn of new entertainment was present, like my personal favorite, the Three Stooges.
Hey, what's the idea of spoiling the game?
I was for onesies.
Well, here's twosies.
Oh, he was for onesies? You get him to...
Here's fivesies.
Out of these new brilliant sources evolved in the 20s, one was quite interesting, the radio. You see, electricity flows from an antenna, which makes the atoms vibrate up and down, making a radio wave. From there, the waves travel at the speed of light through the air to the receiving antenna, which makes electrons vibrate inside it to recreate the original sound, which then goes through the radio into a speaker that grabs all the electrons into a magnet, which is the main speaker, and it plays sound for others to hear. There were no plug-ins for the radios. They were powered by large batteries. They were called dry cell batteries, which a single one only was charged with 1.5 volts. Radios back then were like today's TV. The family would huddle around the big box that made noise. Only about 60% of families in America owned a radio between the 1920s and the 1930s. Here are some of the shows that were played on the radio.
Tommy Hudson says that hearing I Can't Give You Anything But Love, played the old-fashioned way, makes him reminisce. Ray and his boys sent Tommy through and obliged him to play in my bouquet of memories.
So we peeped through the window curtains, and there they were, 4 or 5 of them, and they got a blooming great camera on a tripod and flashlight apparatus and goodness knows what. And I thought, oh, I'd rather...
The radio was a great way for people to socialize, bring people together, have fun at parties and get together, spread the news, commentate for sport games or events, especially in the 1920, 1924, and 1928 Summer Olympics.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, here's one you all can sing with us when the Saints go marching in.
The radio was huge back in the 20s because of the rise of jazz. The rise of jazz also was the rise of the radio broadcasting. From there, that's where Potter Pam shows happened, where they had on-studio performances from jazz bands. Men like Louis Armstrong had his fame grow more and more because of his music being played on the radio. Station KDKA in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania was the first radio station broadcasting in the United States in 1920. They broadcasted the first ever baseball game. It was the Pittsburgh Pirates versus the Philadelphia Phillies on August 5th, 1921. The Pirates defeated the Phillies 8-5. Also, in 1921, the Westinghouse Electric and Manufacturing Company had their own radio station in Chicago. In the beginning of their broadcast, they mostly played opera 6 days a week. Then quickly after that, it was replaced with classical music, popular music, politics, news, etc. By the year 1922, there were already 600 different radio stations spread across the U.S. Later, those radio stations would compete with each other for more listeners throughout the day. But the thing was, the radio stations would overlap each other. As listeners were enjoying a broadcast, another radio station would cut in and interrupt it. It was so annoying to people that they begged the government to stop all this overlapping with radio stations. Then in 1926, the government created the Federal Radio Commission to stop all the radio stations from not being under control when it came to being competitive. From there, the radios were known to be more public. Radio stations would play advertisements. The radio changed culture as we know it. That's why starting from the 1920s until the 1950s, it was called the Golden Age of Radio. To this age, it's still widely used more often than we think. It brought many people together with new interests. Still used to this day for nearly anything social, as a party, a drive together, work, and even when we're by ourselves. I hope you all learned something here today. Thank you all for watching.